No one expected a human to stand when the name of the bride was announced. The Galactic Union Hall was silent, filled with leaders from 100 worlds. Watching the hologram in the center, the image showed a thin alien girl with pale skin and fragile limbs. Her eyes lowered as if she was ashamed to exist. Her name was Lyra, and across the galaxy she was known by only one title, the Weak One. Whispers moved through the hall like cold wind. She will not live long. Her species failed evolution. She is a burden. The words were cruel but common, spoken as facts rather than insults. This marriage was not about love. It was a political bond meant to tie humans closer to the Union. The Council had expected a rejection, or silence, or polite excuses. Instead, a human officer stepped forward. His name was Ethan Cole, a former fleet commander, calm-faced, shoulders straight, eyes clear. When he spoke, his voice carried across the chamber. "I accept the Union." The hall erupted. Some laughed in disbelief. Others stared as if he had lost his mind. A few council members leaned forward in shock. "Commander Cole," the council speaker said carefully, "you understand what you are choosing. She is weak. She is frail. She may not survive the year." Ethan did not argue. He simply nodded. "I understand," he said. His eyes never left the image of the alien girl. Lyra lifted her head slightly. For the first time, her eyes met his. They were not dull or broken. They were deep, quiet, and watching. No one noticed the small change in the air. No alarms sounded. No screens flashed warnings. But something had shifted. To the galaxy, this was a joke. A human marrying a dying alien. A strong species tying itself to weakness. Many believed it proved humans were foolish. Lyra was escorted to the human quarters hours later. She walked slowly, her steps careful. 2 medical drones hovered nearby, monitoring her fragile body. Every report said the same thing. Low strength, low resistance, unstable biology. Ethan waited alone in the room. When she entered, he stood, not as a commander, but as a man. "You are safe here," he said softly. She nodded but did not speak. The silence between them was heavy but not empty. Ethan noticed how she avoided bright lights, how the metal walls seemed to hum when she was nervous, how the sensors flickered for just a moment when she passed by. Later that night, the Union released the news. Across planets and stations, the story spread fast. Humans mocked, aliens pitted, enemies smiled. "They chose the weakest bride," many said. "They will regret it." Lyra sat by the window, watching distant stars. Her voice was quiet when she finally spoke. "You did not have to choose me," she said. "I know what they say." Ethan stood beside her, hands behind his back. "They say many things about humans too," he replied. "Most of them are wrong." She looked at him then, truly looked. For a brief second, something ancient moved behind her eyes. Something careful, controlled, and very powerful. Then it was gone, hidden behind softness. What no one knew was this. Lyra was not weak by nature. Her people had been sealed, restrained, shaped into something small, because the galaxy feared what they truly were. Ethan knew. He had read classified records, old war files erased from public history. He had seen the same energy pattern once before, on a battlefield that no longer existed. In his private log that night, he wrote a single line. "They think she is weak, because they never learned what restraint looks like." Outside the station, stars burned quietly, and far away forces were already moving, watching, waiting, unaware that the weakest bride in the galaxy had just found her shield. And before the story goes any further, if you enjoy deep sci-fi stories like this, gently consider subscribing to this channel. It helps more than you think, because this was only the beginning. The next cycle began with silence, not the peaceful kind, but the heavy silence that follows public shame. Across the Galactic Union, Lyra's name was spoken again and again, always with the same tone, pity mixed with disgust. To many worlds, she was no longer just weak. She was an embarrassment, a reminder of a species that had failed, a symbol of everything the galaxy wanted to forget. Lyra's people were called the Ashari. Long ago they were explorers and thinkers, but history books told a different story now. They were described as fragile, unstable, and genetically broken. Children on distant planets learned about the Ashari as a warning. Teachers said evolution had corrected itself by limiting their numbers. Scientists used their bodies as examples of biological failure. No one questioned these lessons. Lyra felt all of this even when no one spoke it aloud. She could sense the way guards avoided standing too close, the way doctors whispered while checking her readings, the way eyes followed her with quiet judgment. Inside the human station, life moved fast. Soldiers trained, engineers worked, ships came and went. Humans treated her politely, but carefully, as if she might break with the wrong word. Ethan noticed everything. He noticed how Lyra always chose the seat farthest from others, how she flinched when loud alarms sounded, how she apologized for things that were not her fault. One day, a Union science envoy arrived. They requested permission to examine Lyra. Official reason, medical concern. Real reason, curiosity and doubt. The lead scientist was not cruel, only cold. He spoke in numbers and charts. Her muscle density is low. Her energy output is near zero. She poses no threat. Lyra stood still during the examination. Needles scanned her skin. Lights passed through her body. The machines hummed louder than usual, then quieter, then normal again. Strange, one assistant muttered. The lead scientist frowned but said nothing. The final report still read the same. Weak, frail, harmless. When the envoy left, laughter followed them down the hall. She is nothing, someone said. A waste of Alliance effort, said another. That night, Lyra sat alone again. Her hands rested on her knees, fingers slightly trembling, not from fear, but from effort. Holding something back always required strength. Ethan joined her without speaking. He did not ask if she was all right. He already knew the answer was complicated. Instead, he said, "You are not what they say." She looked at him slowly. "They say what they are taught," she replied. "My people taught them to believe it." That caught his attention. "Your people taught the galaxy to shame you?" he asked. Lyra nodded. "Yes," she said. She spoke carefully, choosing simple words. Long ago, the Ashari touched something dangerous. Not a weapon, not a machine. A force that lived between matter and space. They learned to shape it, to calm stars, to silence wars. But power frightened the galaxy. So treaties were made, and lies were written. The Ashari were sealed, their bodies weakened on purpose, their true nature buried under layers of control, their history rewritten as failure. Ethan listened without interruption. Every word matched fragments he had seen in hidden files. Battles erased, systems destroyed and rebuilt. Warnings stamped with the highest clearance. Outside the station, news spread again. Rival factions mocked the humans openly. Even humans choose broken allies, they said. Perhaps they are weaker than we thought. On a distant border, unknown ships changed course. They had watched the Union for a long time. Now they saw opportunity. Weakness invited predators. Back on the station, a minor power fluctuation occurred. Lights dimmed for less than a second. Engineers blamed old conduits. But Ethan saw Lyra clutch the arm of her chair. "Are you hurt?" he asked. "No," she said quickly. "Just tired." The wall behind her showed a faint mark, as if heat had brushed it and vanished. No alarms triggered. No records saved the moment. Later, as Lyra slept, Ethan reviewed internal logs. Energy spikes with no source. Micro distortions too small to matter. Too small for anyone not looking for them. He closed the file and leaned back. The galaxy believed it had buried the Ashari. Believed weakness meant safety. Believed shame could erase danger. They were wrong. Far beyond the station, ships continued to move. Plans were forming. Eyes were turning toward humanity, toward the weak bride. and the galaxy had no idea how close it was to waking something it should have left asleep. The station drifted through space like a quiet witness, unaware of the truth growing inside its walls. To most beings aboard, Lyra was still the same weak alien bride. Silent, careful, easy to ignore, but Ethan Cole no longer slept easily. Every night he reviewed old files, records sealed under human command codes, battles with no names, enemies with no faces, entire systems marked as lost without explanation. Again and again, the same strange energy pattern appeared, and again that pattern matched Lyra. Ethan remembered the first time he had seen it. Years ago, during a classified mission beyond Union space, a human fleet had entered a dead system, planets shattered, stars unstable, no signs of war, no debris fields, only silence. At the center of that system, sensors had detected something alive. Not a ship, not a creature, but a presence. The logs called it a phenomenon, then quickly changed the word to threat. The mission was erased the next day. Now that same presence sat quietly in his quarters, drinking water slowly, breathing carefully, hiding behind weakness, not pretending but containing. Lyra sensed his thoughts more than his words. "You are remembering," she said one evening, her voice low. "Yes," Ethan replied. "And you are afraid." He did not deny it. "I am afraid of what will happen when they realize the truth," he said. She looked at her hands, pale and thin. "They will not understand," she said. That was the secret. The galaxy did not lack intelligence. It lacked context. Power without understanding always looked like danger. Lyra finally began to speak of things she had never said aloud. Not to the council, not to doctors, not even to her own kind. Her words were slow, simple, but heavy. The Ashari were not born weak. They were shaped that way over generations. Their bodies turned into cages. Their minds trained to lock doors no one else could see. Inside them lived something called the quiet force. Not energy in the normal sense, but balance, pressure, correction. A force that responded to conflict itself. When wars grew too large, the quiet force awakened. Stars cooled. Weapons failed. Fleets vanished without explosions. The universe corrected itself through the Ashari. And the galaxy panicked. Fear spread faster than understanding. Alliances formed not to learn, but to control. The Ashari were offered protection, then regulation, then restriction. Finally, sealing. Lyra had been born long after these events. She had never seen her people at full strength, but she carried the system inside her. Waiting, listening, responding. Ethan realized then why the scans made no sense. Why her energy output read near zero. Why machines failed to measure what did not behave like energy. You could not scan balance. Outside their quarters, pressure continued to build. Union analysts questioned human judgment. Why defend a useless ally? Why waste resources on a fragile bride? In the shadows of space, enemy factions watched quietly. They saw humans divided. They saw the Union distracted. They saw opportunity. One night, alarms briefly sounded and stopped. A minor probe drifted too close to the station. Defense systems activated and then shut down on their own. Engineers blamed software error. Lyra woke up gasping. Her hands pressed against the floor. The metal beneath her palm grew warm, then soft, then solid again. Ethan watched, heart pounding. "I did not mean to," she said, shaken. "You did not do anything wrong," he replied. But both of them knew something had changed. Containment was becoming harder. Stress cracked seals. Fear loosened locks. And the galaxy was becoming very loud. Ethan sent a coded message to Earth Command. Short, careful, incomplete. "She is not a weapon," he wrote. "She is a system." The reply came hours later. Single line, heavily encrypted. "We know." That answer terrified him more than any denial. It meant humanity had already decided something. It meant plans were forming. It meant time was running out. Lyra stood by the viewport again. Stars reflected in her eyes. "They will come," she said softly. Not for me. For what they think I am. Ethan stepped beside her. Then they will learn the difference, he said. Far away, engines ignited in the dark. Fleets aligned their courses. And the secret no one understood was about to be tested. The first attack did not begin with explosions. It began with silence breaking. Deep space sensors flickered, then steadied. Long-range scans showed nothing at first. Then a pattern emerged, slow and deliberate. Ships without transponders, moving in perfect formation. On the station, command alerts sounded low and controlled. Human officers moved quickly but calmly. They had seen this kind of approach before. An enemy that did not announce itself. The Galactic Union hesitated. Some leaders argued it was a mistake. Others claimed the readings were false. No one wanted to believe war was coming. Ethan stood in the command center watching the tactical display. His jaw tightened as more signals appeared. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. They are not raiders, a human analyst said. This is an invasion force. In a sealed chamber far below, Lyra felt it instantly. Her breath caught, her chest tightened. The quiet force inside her stirred like a disturbed ocean. Conflict always called to it. She pressed her hands together, focusing, holding the pressure down. She had done this all her life, but never at this scale. The Union Council ordered defensive positioning. Human ships moved to the front. Other species hung back, uncertain, still doubting human resolve. Then the first shot was fired. A beam of compressed energy tore through empty space, missing the station by thousands of kilometers. A warning shot. The enemy fleet advanced faster. Weapons charged, shields layered. Their message was clear even without words. Surrender or be erased. Human commanders gave no reply. Fighters launched. Cruisers aligned. The station's defense grid came alive. Blue light wrapped the structure like armor. The first real impact shook the station. A shield flare rippled across the hull. Alarms rose in pitch. Gravity fluctuated for half a second. Lyra cried out, dropping to her knees, not from injury, but from resonance. The battle echoed inside her. Ethan felt the tremor through the deck. He knew exactly where she was. Seal her chamber. A Union officer ordered over comms. She must be protected. The doors locked. Energy dampeners activated. Medical drones hovered closer. They thought they were helping, but confinement was the wrong choice. Outside, the battle intensified. Enemy ships pushed forward with overwhelming force. Union vessels began to fall back. One by one, human pilots fought hard, but numbers mattered. A cruiser exploded in silent light, then another. On the station, panic spread among non-human crews. Some demanded evacuation. Others accused humans of provoking the attack. Fear needed someone to blame. Inside the sealed chamber, Lyra's breathing grew uneven. The walls vibrated softly, not from weapons, but from her struggle to contain herself. She whispered words no translator recorded. Not a language, but a pattern. A calming sequence taught since birth. It was not enough. Ethan broke protocol. He left the command center mid-battle, ignoring shouted orders, running through the station corridors. When he reached her chamber, the metal door was warm to the touch. Not burning, but alive, as if it remembered heat. Open it, he demanded. Security hesitated, then complied. The moment the door slid open, the air shifted, pressure changed, sound softened. Time itself seemed to slow for a breath. Lyra looked up at him, eyes wide and shining. I cannot hold it, she said. Her voice trembled, but not with fear, with effort. Ethan stepped inside and knelt beside her. Look at me, he said. She did. The station shook again, harder this time. Outside, enemy weapons malfunctioned. Targeting systems failed. Energy beams bent slightly off course. Commanders shouted in confusion. No one understood why their perfect assault was losing shape. No one connected it to the weak alien bride. Not yet. She was never meant to be locked away, Ethan said calmly. She was meant to balance. Lyra's hands pressed against the floor. The metal did not melt this time. Faded, as if space itself had stepped aside. On the tactical display, human analysts stared in disbelief. Enemy ships slowed. Formations drifted out of alignment. Not destroyed. Stopped. The first attack stalled. Not because of superior firepower. Not because of strategy. But because something ancient had noticed the noise. And the galaxy was about to learn that weakness had never been the truth. After the attack stalled, the station did not celebrate. There were no cheers, no victory calls. Only confusion and fear. Enemy ships still floated in space, disabled but not destroyed. Union leaders argued on open channels. Some demanded answers. Others demanded control. Ethan stood beside Lyra in the quiet chamber. She looked exhausted, her shoulders low, her skin pale, but something in her eyes was different now. Less hidden, more awake. They felt it, she said softly. They always do. Medical teams rushed in, scanners active, voices sharp. The machines failed again, readings jumping without pattern. Doctors whispered the same word again and again. Impossible. The Galactic Council called an emergency assembly. This time, Ethan was not asked to attend. He was ordered. Lyra walked beside him through the great hall. Every step echoed. Every gaze followed her. Fear had replaced pity. The council speaker rose slowly. What happened was not human technology, he said. Explain. Ethan did not speak immediately. He looked at Lyra. She gave a small nod. The Ashari were never weak, Ethan said. They were restricted. By design. The hall erupted in noise. Accusations flew. Denials followed. Historians protested. Scientists argued. Old lies fought to stay alive. Lyra stepped forward. Her voice calm but steady. My people were guardians, she said. When conflict grew beyond control, we corrected it. Images filled the hall, not projections. Memories, stars cooling, fleets stopping mid-strike, wars ending without victory. The quiet force moving through reality like a gentle hand. We did not destroy, Lyra continued. We balanced. Fear returned stronger than before. You controlled the galaxy, someone shouted. You decided who won. No, Lyra replied. We prevented everyone from losing. The truth settled slowly, heavily. The Ashari were not conquerors. They were limits, a final answer to endless war. The ceiling had come from fear. Other species could not accept a force they could not command. So they weakened the Ashari bodies, bound the quiet force behind fragile forms. Ethan spoke again. They rewrote history, he said. Turned guardians into failures. Screens across the hall lit up with classified files. Human archives long buried. Treaties signed in panic. Orders stamped irreversible. The council fell silent. The truth was undeniable now, and terrifying. Outside, the enemy fleet began to recover. Systems rebooted. Engines warmed. They had learned something too, that the station was not defenseless. They will attack again, Lyra said quietly. And next time they will aim for me. A Union general stood abruptly. Then she must be contained. For everyone's safety. Human officers reacted instantly, voices raised. No! She is not a prisoner. Ethan moved in front of Lyra without thinking. She trusted us, he said. You will not chain her again. The room divided. Fear on one side, trust on the other. Old power structures cracking under truth. Lyra placed a hand lightly on Ethan's arm. I do not want war, she said. But I will not hide while others burn. Outside the station, space began to distort again. Not violently, but noticeably, as if reality itself was listening. Sensors detected movement across multiple borders. More fleets, more weapons, more fear. The galaxy had woken something it had buried. The council speaker finally lowered his head. "We were wrong," he said. "The shame was ours, not yours." But apologies could not stop what was coming. The truth was revealed. And the universe does not forget truth once it is spoken. Lyra looked once more at the stars beyond the hall. "The balance will be tested," she whispered, "and humanity would soon have to decide. Stand back in fear, or stand beside the one they had chosen to protect." The decision did not take long. Fear was loud in the council hall, but resolve was louder among humans. While other species argued about control and containment, human commanders were already moving. Orders spread quietly through human channels. Defense fleets repositioned. Civilian ships were cleared from danger zones. Medical teams prepared for casualties they hoped would never come. Ethan stood beside Lyra as the room slowly emptied. Some council members could not meet her eyes. Others looked at her as if she were a living disaster. Only the humans remained steady. A senior human admiral stepped forward. "She is under human protection," he said clearly. "Any action against her is an action against us." The words echoed across the chamber. Shock followed, then anger, then disbelief. "You would risk war for her?" one delegate demanded. The admiral nodded. "We have done it before." Lyra listened quietly. She had never heard anyone choose her so openly. Her people had hidden, weakened, apologized for existing. Humans did none of that. "I do not want you to suffer for me," she said softly to Ethan. He answered without hesitation. "Standing with you is not suffering. It is a choice." Outside the station, the enemy fleets regrouped. This time they did not rush. They studied, scanned, adjusted, learning from failure. Long-range sensors detected new weapons charging. Devices designed to tear through shields and space itself. Tools made to overpower force, not understanding balance. On human ships, pilots prepared in silence. They knew they were outnumbered. They knew victory was uncertain. But they also knew something else. Humans had lived their entire history underestimated. Called weak, reckless, short-lived. Yet they had survived every time. Because they stood together. Lyra was brought to the command deck by choice, not force. No restraints, no guards at her side. Only Ethan, steady and present. Her anchor. As she stepped onto the deck, systems hummed differently. Not alarms. Not failures. Adjustments. "She is changing the field." An engineer whispered. "No." Another replied. "She is aligning with it." The enemy launched the second wave. This time with full force. Beams cut through space, missiles followed. The void itself seemed to scream. Human ships took the front again. Shields flared. Hulls burned. Pilots shouted status updates through clenched teeth. Losses mounted. Lyra closed her eyes. The quiet force surged inside her. Stronger than ever. But it wavered, unstable. She was afraid. Ethan placed his hand on her shoulder. "I am here," he said. "You are not alone." That was enough. Space shifted. Not violently, not suddenly, but completely. Enemy targeting systems lost focus. Weapons fired but missed. Formations drifted apart as if gravity itself had changed its mind. Human ships felt it too. Controls grew lighter, movements smoother, as if the battlefield itself was helping them breathe. "She is not fighting," a human analyst said in awe. "She is correcting." The enemy commanders panicked. They increased power, pushed harder. The more they forced, the more unstable their fleet became. Lyra's voice trembled. "I cannot hold this forever," she said. Ethan nodded. "You do not have to." Human reinforcements arrived then. Not just warships, but rescue vessels, support fleets, carriers filled with pilots who volunteered knowing the risk. A message broadcast across all human channels. "We stand with her. We stand together." The word spread fast. Heard by allies, enemies, and observers alike. Humanity had chosen its side. The enemy fleet began to collapse inward. Ships colliding, weapons tearing their own lines apart. Not destroyed by fire, but undone by imbalance. As the battle slowed, Lyra fell to one knee, exhausted. Ethan caught her before she hit the deck. The station stabilized. The stars returned to stillness. Silence followed, heavy and complete. Human ships held position. The enemy retreated, broken and confused. Lyra looked up at Ethan, tears in her eyes. "You did not turn away," she said. He smiled softly. "Neither did you." Across the galaxy, the message was clear. Humanity had not feared the truth. They had stood beside it, and the universe was beginning to understand what that meant. The battle was over, but the galaxy was not at peace. Silence filled the space around the station, heavy and watchful. Destroyed ships drifted slowly, broken reminders of fear and pride. And at the center of it all, Lyra stood. She looked smaller now, almost fragile again. Her shoulders shook slightly as the quiet force settled back into rest. To anyone watching from a distance, she looked weak once more. But no one believed that lie anymore. Across the Union, emergency broadcasts replaced old propaganda. History files were unlocked, sealed records released. Worlds learned the truth they had been denied for generations. The Ashari were not a failure. They were a safeguard. Council members who once mocked Lyra now spoke her name carefully, with respect, with fear, with regret. Ethan remained by her side as medics checked her condition. For the first time, the machines showed something different. Not weakness, but balance. "She is stable," a doctor said quietly. "More stable than any being we have ever scanned." News spread fast. The weak alien bride had stopped an invasion. Not with weapons, but by refusing to let war exist. On distant planets, people watched the recordings again and again. The moment enemy fleets collapsed without a final shot. The moment humans stood firm instead of stepping aside. The moment everything changed. Some called Lyra a monster. Others called her a goddess. But humans called her something simpler. Family. The Galactic Council gathered one final time. This time, no one sat above another. No raised platforms. No symbols of dominance. The council speaker stepped forward and bowed. A gesture never before offered to the Ashari. "We were wrong," he said. "We turned fear into cruelty." Lyra listened without anger, without pride, only understanding. "We do not seek power," she replied. "We seek balance." A new treaty was signed that day, not one of control or ceiling, but of trust. The Ashari would never again be hidden or weakened. Humanity was named their official protector, not as masters, but as partners. Later, in a quiet chamber away from cameras and leaders, Ethan and Lyra stood together. No uniforms, no titles. "You could have left," Lyra said softly. "When they feared me, when they blamed me." Ethan smiled. "They feared humans once too," he said. "We survived by standing together." She reached for his hand, hesitant at first, then certain. The universe felt calm around them, as if it approved. Their union was no longer a political joke. It was a symbol, a reminder that weakness is often just misunderstood strength. Across the galaxy, the story spread, of the wife they called weak, of the human who chose her, of the day fear lost